When we last caught up with Tantalus Systems CEO Peter Londa, it was on the heels of a massive electricity generation failure in Texas. It garnered international press as billions was lost amid scores of death. For a company looking to make the grid smarter, it was a grim way to bring a spotlight on its work, but the tragedy shone a light on much needed changes. Now, months later, another watershed moment in the sector as the recently passed Infrastructure Investment Act was passed. It was signed into law on November 15th. It saw $65 billion allocated for electric and grid infrastructure. Once again, we caught up with Mr. Londa to talk about where Tantalus fits into this new landscape. Peter, good to be here with you again. How are you?
Richard, I'm great. How are you?
Very good. Thank you. Very good. Happy to be talking to you. Let's jump right in, Peter. The $1.2 trillion Infrastructure Investment Jobs Act, which was signed into law, I think, back in November. There's $65 billion allocated for electric and grid infrastructure. So what does that mean for your company, Tantalus?
Yeah, thanks, Richard. We're extremely excited by what the Republicans and Democrats were able to finally agree upon towards the end of last year. And before I even dive into the package that was announced in November, the actual stimulus dollars available to the utility industry that we support is even more substantial, in that a number of acts were put into law earlier in 2021 that either tied to COVID-19 stimulus or other infrastructure initiatives. As an example, the Building Resiliency and Infrastructure Act of almost $1 billion, which is now in the hands of FEMA and being allocated to some of the utilities we support today. So what we have witnessed in 2021 is really and truly the largest effort by the United States government to set aside dollars that are earmarked to truly improve the efficiency, the reliability, and the resiliency of the utility grid, the energy grid that everybody relies on every single day. And so to your specific question on the Infrastructure and Investment Jobs Act that got passed in November, that $65 billion is broken out through a series of different initiatives, some of which ties directly to the distribution grid where we focus, some of which ties to helping utilities prepare for the quick adoption and the impact of electric vehicles and electric vehicle charging stations. And then a portion of it's tied to helping communities that still don't have prolific access to broadband, and in many circumstances where the electric cooperative utility market or the municipal public power utility market are stepping in, where the large cable providers or cellular providers are not able to economically deliver broadband access to the home. So those three areas, grid resiliency, the actual distribution grid itself, electric vehicle charging stations and the impact that has on utilities, and the proliferation of broadband, which we believe is going to be done through utilities that we support today and within our pipeline, is where we'll see dollars from that stimulus package flow into the hands of the utilities we either support today within our user community or utilities that we are directly engaged with from a sales perspective that ultimately lead to investments in our technology.
Peter, since the last time we caught up, I know Tantalus has launched its data analytics product, NetGrid, and I believe that came out at the end of September. What does this mean for utilities? How has the adoption been? I know it's still early, but how's it looking so far?
Yeah, so thanks. We're extremely excited. We refer to this as the Tantalus Grid Reliability Analytics Tool. It is a AI-enabled data analytics tool that is being driven by the 30 billion data points that we capture each year across our user community that now exceeds 200 utilities. And specifically what we're doing is we're tracking in real time in some circumstances or near real time in other circumstances, a combination of power quality data. So what power quality ties to is things like current and voltage. There are harmonics that utilities track to ensure that the electricity that we have access to in our homes and our buildings is safe and reliable. And so what we're doing is we're pulling off from the devices that we deploy in the field under the glass of a meter or other devices along the distribution grid. We're accessing data from those devices through our solution. And from that data, we're putting it into an analytics engine that we've developed to help utilities specifically pinpoint where they have inefficiencies or where they have infrastructure problems. As an example, a transformer that we would see on a pole top on the streets where we live. Is that transformer stressed? Is it not functioning properly? Is it about to fail? And we can help utilities start to predict those types of outcomes that prevent outages for you and me, potentially prevent a fire or catastrophic damage to their infrastructure. So we've developed the analytics tool in conjunction with members, utilities of our user community that sat alongside our engineers and our developers in thinking through what analytics would really help them day to day solve problems that are otherwise manual or in some circumstances unknown until an event happens, like a fire or a substation transformer explosion or a pole top transformer failing. And so to that end, the R&D effort was fairly extenuous. We rolled this out at the very end of September, which we were excited to do across our user community. We quickly, in the first few weeks of getting the tool commercialized, had our first 6 utilities opt into a SaaS model subscription, which is also the first time we've incorporated that into our business model to improve the mix of recurring revenue from our software capabilities. We are in the process of rolling out the next 6 utilities beyond our initial 6 that are going into 3-month evaluations of the tool. And from there, would migrate to full subscriptions. We have over 20 utilities requesting demos as we focus into 2022 here, all within our existing customer base. So in summary, we've identified issues within our existing customer base. We're leveraging the data that we already capture on behalf of our customer base, and we've designed a tool with those customers that are solving very specific problems to improve their efficiency and reliability. And we're very excited about what that means, not only in terms of expanding our SaaS offering among our existing utilities, but also differentiating ourselves as we try to convert new utilities out of our pipeline.
That's really interesting, super significant stuff there. I want to ask you as well, though, in December, I know Tantalus partnered with Irby. I believe it was a next-gen fiber solution. Can you tell us a bit more about that, Peter?
Yeah, so it ties a little bit to your first question around the stimulus package. And so within the utilities that we support, many of those utilities are actively today making investments in deploying fiber capabilities throughout their distribution grid. In some circumstances, that goes just to the substation today. In other circumstances, utilities are investing in dropping fiber nodes to deliver broadband services at people's homes or at the buildings. Again, it's an absence of the large cable providers or these cellular providers that economically can't get into a more rural footprint or a smaller community. And so the utilities, public power and electric co-ops, are stepping into that void to deal with this broadband divide that still exists in the United States and in portions of Canada for that matter. So what we've done is Tantalus for several years has been a leader in helping utilities deploy what's called fiber to the home, meaning a utility's investment in dropping a fiber node at the home or a building to not only deliver broadband services, TV, voice, internet, but also use that fiber network to bring back data from meters or other devices that the utility might deploy at a premise and gather that data in real time. And so what we've announced in December is the launch of our next generation fiber or broadband to the home device that will be deployed with utilities. We have partnered with Irby, which is a terrific organization in the United States that has a wide sales channel and is specifically focused in on helping utilities deploy fiber and work on fiber projects to not only enhance the resiliency of the grid, but also deliver broadband services. And so having Irby as a strategic partner of ours to help proliferate the sale of our next generation solution, I think is a terrific confirmation of what we are building and the value that they see for existing utilities they support, and also will help us, I think, bring this product into market as quickly as possible to drive growth for our shareholders.
Peter, very interesting stuff. A lot going on here, but I'm curious to know where do you see the drivers of growth coming from as we move forward?
Yeah, so even if as we look at the first week here, first few business days in 2022, the recent announcements here in the United States by Ford and GM to increase production of the F-150 Lightning and to bring in for GM, General Motors, a competitive electric vehicle pickup truck. We see a wave of investment that is coming across the utility industry to prepare for this quick adoption and deployment of electric vehicles. And if you think about what this means, most are thinking about, okay, do I buy an electric vehicle? What does that mean for the environment? What's the range of that vehicle? Well, the back end of that is, how does the vehicle actually get charged? Beyond the charging station, that changes the entire system plan for a utility. If the load profile at a home or a building changes because someone's plugging in an electric vehicle, the utility has to prepare for that. So within our own user community, the electric vehicle impact on the distribution grid was the #1 concern identified by our user community during our recent annual users conference in Q4. And so we see that as a key driver for growth of our technology as we help utilities truly digitize their grid to have not only visibility where EVs are showing up, but then more importantly, how to have command and control of those devices so that it doesn't create resiliency issues at the grid level, at the distribution grid level. So that's one big area of growth. We see the stimulus dollars as some are already in motion. The November package that was approved, and to your first question, we see that filtering through in the second half of 2022 and into 2023. We think that'll open up the door for some utilities to move a little faster than they typically are. And we see that this power of data, the data analytics tool, is a big driver to help utilities solve problems in what otherwise is becoming a very challenging environment for them to operate in.
Great stuff, Peter. Great to catch up with you again. It's Peter Londa, CEO, Tantalus. Thanks for being here.
Richard, thanks for having us, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.